Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Hey, if you're a regular listener of Coast Vue, you know that we had the opportunity last week to spend time with an independent missionary, Laurie Jackson, who is in Ukraine. And she's been in Ukraine since 2005. We told her story. I met her through my cousin's daughter, Michelle Tice, who lives in Alabama, and Michelle and I, we stay in touch with one another. She's just a terrific person. She's actually adopted two sons from Ukraine, and at least with one of the sons, she was assisted in some ways by Laurie Jackson. And that's how I got to know Laurie. So Laurie and I had a terrific conversation last week. And with all this happening in Ukraine and with it being on everyone's mind, we thought we would ask Laurie to come back again and just give us an update and give us the opportunity to talk to some people who are there. And she actually has a couple of people from Ukraine that she is going to introduce us to here shortly. But before we go any further, let me first of all welcome you back, Laurie. God bless you. I know it's been difficult last few days for you guys, but how are you doing?
We're okay, pressing on. And yeah, but for the most part, we see God's hand. We see him helping us help others. And so trying just to be faithful with what we're given right now.
So when we talked before, in case you missed the conversation with Laurie before, Laurie's been involved in, she does independent missionary work. So it's sort of whatever's needed. That's sort of where she focuses her time. She's worked with foster children. She's done just terrific work, and she does it in a very Christian-based approach. She lived on the river in Kyiv and found herself in a position where she needed to leave Kyiv. They came over to Western Ukraine with the thought, at least last week, obviously, we were thinking this is sort of a safe place to be. But, if you're watching the news today, you know that there have been sort of sporadic bombing happenings all over Ukraine and more recently in Western Ukraine. So we don't get the feeling that where you are is particularly safe. Anywhere in Ukraine is not particularly safe. But Laurie had an opportunity to leave. She chose to stay, and they have just put together this kind of hodgepodge effort where they're bringing supplies where appropriate to certain places. They're helping people get back over to the border. They're helping families. Unfortunately, she's having to deal with families that are being separated, and that's just very, very difficult. But Laurie, give us kind of a sense of what's going on today. And I don't know, we haven't said where Laurie was. She's in Western Ukraine. That's as best as we're going to be able to tell you. But you obviously have a sense that the bombing has increased in that area. And to what extent did that raise the temperature there for you?
It's kind of a hard question to answer because I don't know, like even when we were in Kyiv, we were kind of expecting things to start. So when things started, like we kind of knew that was coming. And here too, it's kind of like that. Like we're not prepared, but we know that anything's possible. And so just trying to be alert and aware of what's going on around us, but also, just paying attention. Mm-hmm.
So, what you did is you sort of settled where you are now, and this effort that you have developed is based on the current need, whatever that might be. And you've in this hodgepodge group of people who really want to serve have come together. And give us a sense of what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, I can see how the Lord has led us to this point. Most of us have worked together in some capacity with different projects in the past. And so we kind of have a community that has been building over the years. And so it's just really beautiful to see the church being the church in the midst of tragedy, in the midst of the horrors that are happening in our country. And so I just feel like I don't know. I feel like God has prepared us for this time, and he's prepared us to be together during this time.
One of the things that you and I talked about the other day is that, and I love the way you said that, is that you had this community, and it's this integrated community, and they're dispersed really all over the country of Ukraine. You've been able to have sort of a ongoing communication. You guys have had the ability to connect with people who are missionaries and doing work all over the country. Are you able to stay in contact with them even today? I know that last week you sort of reported a lot of communication was taking place, but are you still in touch with these people all over the country?
Yeah, this is actually one of the biggest blessings that we've had, and something I would ask for continued prayer for, is that we have good communication, and we've been able to stay in touch for the most part with people on the ground. There have been moments and times when in hotspot areas there hasn't been communication with specific people or groups of people, but overall throughout Ukraine, it's been probably one of our biggest blessings for sure.
One of the things that I read about was the efforts to get supplies into Kyiv, and we'll come back to that in just a second. I wonder about, with the situation there ramping up, how is that? Is that even possible today? And we'll talk about that in just a second. But one of the things that you and I talked about when we talked last week was how so many families are sort of making that track as you have sort of become a lifeline in that journey, which we all know in America is this humanitarian crisis. Tell me about the kind of the evolution of what you guys are doing today.
So yeah, once we were on the ground here, we realized that there was a need for people to get out, to help them find roads that were safe to travel, and also to, like you were saying, to get supplies in. And so obviously the only way to do that is if you have a vehicle that can do that. So we were, 2 days in, I guess, and one of my friends who's here with me said, we need a van. And we're like, yeah, that would be great. And we went to bed and woke up the next morning, and he says, we need 4 vans, and we could do it faster, be more efficient, have place in different places, and so I don't know. We all kind of thought he was a little bit crazy, but we're willing to jump on the crazy wagon with him, and just threw the need out there and said, "Hey, this is our dream," and we had so much response from friends and family right away, and so now we do have these 4 vehicles that are able to travel around the country right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why don't we bring Sasha into the conversation? Sasha, why don't you join Laurie sit there, and can you see us yet? Can you see us?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Sasha, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
And where are you from, Sasha?
I'm original from Ukraine, from small city near Dnipro.
Yeah. So, and are you personally in missionary work as well?
No, I'm a photographer.
You're a photographer. Yeah.
I'm a photojournalist and professional studio photographer.
So is that what you do? That's what, before the war, that's what you did day in and day out? You were a professional photographer. Yeah. What did you specialize in?
In photography?
Yes.
I work. Sorry for my English. It's not perfect. I was working for 2 biggest TV channel in Ukraine, and shot a lot of TV star, work in the studio. So yeah.
So do you have a family, Sasha?
Yeah, I'm married. I have a wife.
Yeah, Sasha. I was actually staying with Sasha and his wife Lisa when everything started. This is who I came here with.
Oh, right. That's right. Well, you're the one that she lived with in Kyiv.
Yeah, it's who I was with for the week before everything.
Yeah.
started.
Okay. Right. Okay. So Sasha, so here you are, and you're a former professional photographer. What drives you today in terms of what you guys are up to today? What is it that you are so determined to give back in this moment?
I don't know. It's a hard question because we have a war, and we just want to help how we can, and we just want to do what we can every day. If we can evacuate people, we do this. If we can buy vehicles to help evacuate these people, we do this. If we can take a food and как это переправить?
And send it
to war zone, we do this. So
why don't we do this? When we come back, we'll continue this part of the conversation with Laura Jackson and her friend Sasha as we continue to talk about what they're up to in Ukraine these days. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I am so honored to have the opportunity to visit with my new friend, Laura Jackson, who is an independent missionary in Ukraine. And she's coming to us with her friend Sasha. We have another friend that we're going to introduce here shortly, but with her friend Sasha, who are in Western Ukraine, and their goal is to help wherever they can. And Sasha, when we went to break, we were just sort of talking about how you were a professional photographer, and now here you find yourself in the midst of the war, just trying to figure out how you can help. And it's inspiring what you guys are doing. And one of the things I want to come back to your dream about the vans and how quickly that came to fruition. But what I wanted to ask you was, one of the questions that I asked Laurie last time we talked was to describe the heart and soul of a Ukrainian. What is it that connects her so strongly to that country? And what she described to me felt familiar to me. It felt very familiar to me in terms of how coastal Mississippians and coastal, I always say, Alabamians, and how we feel about this part of the country we live in. And I can't imagine what it would feel like to have to fight for it, but believe me, we would. There's a connection there's a sense of place that we're connected to, and buildings don't make a community. The people make the community, and people oftentimes forget that. But tell me, what is it about you? Tell me about the heart and soul of Ukrainians, Sasha.
I don't know. Ukrainian people are really open and welcomed, and want to help. And I don't know. Yeah.
And I talked last time about how I had some other friends, Ukrainian and his wife, who's American, and they were talking about just about how when you meet a Ukrainian on the street, most Americans would say they seem very harsh, like they're kind of stoic faces and things like this. But the second you interact with them, they're so open, and automatically you're, invited into the home, and they want to take care of you. And I feel like this is just something that Ukrainians do really well, is take care of each other.
Yeah, and second day when war started, we как это собрались здесь?
Got together here.
And talk to each other what can we do, and we create it's not official, but we a volunteer, and we calls Ukraine ants, we together and want to help. So
yeah. So and what we'll do is continue this, and Laurie, what you can do is you sort of kind of build the answer to the question, and then Sasha, when he feels comfortable, can add more to the picture. So Sasha has this idea. Okay, first of all, let's start with this, because this is before the idea of the vans came to fruition. You guys saw that you begin to see all these families start to pass through there. Explain sort of that evolution, Laurie.
So when we were on the way to the border, our friends who are also here, Roma, and his wife and little boy, were also on their way to the border, and they actually made it to the border before we did. And it was after we had heard that they weren't letting men out if they were between certain ages. And so we weren't sure if Roma and his family were going to be able to leave or not. And so we were just in contact, and not just with him, we were in contact with several different friends and family during the time as we were traveling. But so Roma and his wife and son got to the border, and they were told that Roma wasn't going to be able to leave. And so it was Roma and his family who actually had connections here where we are now. And they came back and called us, and so we decided to come here and stay for the night. But there were also other people who had left Kyiv who were here as well. And so when Sasha talks about us getting together, he's talking about a group of people that we all kind of had. We knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, and all had connections here. And so the first morning after we woke up, we all met together and said, okay, this is the situation we're in. What are we going to do? And the first part of that was to help the women and children who were here find places to be across the border. And so that was kind of the first step in this whole process of what's happening now.
Okay. And then this whole notion of the vans came up. So okay, so the vans are about mostly moving supplies, but also moving families. What's the purpose of the vans?
Yeah, both of those two things for sure. And I can't say that one outweighed the other. Obviously, people's lives are the most important to us. But the food and supplies going in are also helping provide for people to be able to survive where they are. Not everyone can get out. Not everyone can leave. But if we can get them food, hopefully they can survive. If we can get our defenders what they need to defend, hopefully this will end sooner. I don't know.
Okay, so you have 4 vans. You had the thought of, Sasha had the thought of a van. And then before you knew it, you had 4 vans, and you named the vans. I thought that was interesting. You actually named the vans, and you gave them Ukrainian names, but you gave us what the translation was. Yeah, what's the English translation for the names of each of the 4 vans?
Okay, so we have the first, which was obviously the first, and after the first. Energetic was number 2.
No, не очень energetic.
And his name is energetic because he's not so energetic and has a lot of quirks.
Yes.
But we like him.
Yeah.
We're thankful for it.
Laurie, that's God, it's such a human thing to do, to put a personality on a van. And that helps you understand where is certain van, and you by having the name for it, obviously it helps you track them as well. But I was surprised that one of the first things you guys did was just fill the van full of supplies, and one of the vans went into Kyiv. Is that a regular thing you guys are doing?
We hope to, yes.
So can you get into Kyiv now? Is there routes into Kyiv still?
Today, our first van come back from Kyiv to Lviv, and after that to our direction. So yeah.
Wow. So go ahead, Laurie. Were you going to say something?
Just that, there are roads that you can't take right now, both in and out. But our team is really good about knowing where those are and paying attention and keeping up to date on which roads are able to be traveled right now.
Okay, so so I don't know the answer to this question. I only know from what I see in the news. But as you plan a trip to Kyiv, is the bombing indiscriminate to some extent, or is there a pattern somewhat to it so that you can decide whether it's safe to go at this moment or not?
It's a hard question.
Yeah.
I think it's more indiscriminate.
So
sometimes there's warning. Sometimes people say something might happen, like pay attention here, pay attention to this. But for the most part, you just don't know.
So when you call them defenders, the Ukrainian army and those who have chosen to be part of the defense effort. From where I'm sitting, it appears that they have been unbelievably effective. Unbelievably effective. Is that the word there too?
Yeah, I don't know. We're really proud of our friends, of our family, of the people who are fighting for our freedom.
So, Sasha, you know many people who are fighting, don't you?
Yes.
And are you able to be in touch with them?
Yeah. Today I called 3 of them who in a different part in a country.
Do you know friends? Do you have friends in Mariupol?
In Mariupol now, it's really hard situation.
Yeah.
We can't. Как это дозвониться,
we can't get through to people.
Yeah, because now it's really hard situation.
Yeah, that's been torturous to watch. Why don't we do this? We're going to come back on the other side. We'll continue our conversation with Laurie Jackson, an independent missionary from Ukraine, and her friend Sasha. We're going to introduce you to another one of her friends here shortly, and just continue the conversation so you can get a sense of where they're coming from. I want to actually know if they've set up a GoFundMe page so we can see if there's ways that we can contribute directly to their efforts. We'll do that after this break. See you soon. Welcome back to Coast Vue. One of the real honors I have in doing this show is the ability to kind of reach out and talk to people who matter to us here in coastal Mississippi. And I can't imagine that there's a single coastal Mississippian that doesn't watch what's happening in Ukraine, doesn't constantly think and pray about what's happening in Ukraine, and not think of the amazing people who are there. And I'm honored to have made friends with Laurie Jackson, an independent missionary who has chosen to stay in the country. And sitting with her today is a professional photographer in his real life until the war happened, Sasha, who is part of this crew of people that have found each other and who are wanting to find ways to help. It might be transporting families to the border. It might be praying with families. It might be working with gathering supplies and bringing them to the appropriate help, to the appropriate place. It's going to be interesting to see how your effort evolves, Laurie, over time, because you're just trying to meet needs, and the needs have to be dramatic and must be increasing with each passing day. How do you really assess what the needs are?
We don't really. They come to us. And just constant phone calls of people telling you what they need and where they need it, and constant trying to just make connections even around us. So of course there are needs that we can't meet, but we hope that we can find someone who can. And the community has been, like we've been talking about, has just been really incredible, and finding people who can find people who can find people who can help each other.
So okay, Laurie, I saw one of the vans when it arrived back to where you're located now, and it was just jam-packed. Mm-hmm. Where did you load all of those supplies? Where did those supplies come from?
The van that you saw, I believe, was packed in Poland, and sent in with humanitarian aid from there.
Wow. And what's give us an idea what's inside that van?
All sorts of things.
Sleeping bags.
Yeah, sleeping bags. Diapers, food, medical supplies, clothes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, Sasha, before we introduce our next guest, is there anything that you would like to say? If you were just speaking to Americans, what would you like us to hear from your perspective?
I don't know. I just want to ask, I think, pray. And if y'all can help something, do this. If you can pray, do this. We here, we fight for our freedom, and we will do this to the end, and we hope everything will be good and God will be with us. Yes.
Sasha, God bless you, my friend, and hopefully we'll see you in the next week or two when we touch base again with Laurie. You're an inspiration, and I'm so sorry that this is happening. But your willingness to risk your life to help others in this moment is inspiring, and believe me, we will pray for you and all of those around you and for your country, and hope for the best. That is for sure. Like I said, buildings don't make a community; the people do, and in your case, you're not leaving your country, and I see that clearly. Anyway, it's a pleasure to meet you, Sasha.
Nice to meet you, and thank you, sir, for everything.
Yes, sir. Okay, so Laurie, why don't you introduce your next friend and tell me about who he is?
So I actually met Andre the year he turned 16. So he was a camper at one of the camps that I was working at, and he and his family are very special to me. And yeah, so.
Well, why don't he can come on and tell him to come on over and sit down with you? Yeah.
I'm here. Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So you've known Laurie for a very long time.
Oh yeah, she's like part of a big family.
How do you describe Laurie? If you were telling someone about Laurie, this American who's come to your country, how would you describe her?
Oh, that's so hard. This is a person that will be first to help.
Yeah. The first, Laurie, what a sweet thing to say. It's so precise. The first to help. So tell me about Andres.
Andres another dreamer. I don't know. It must be a Ukrainian thing. But yeah, just someone who's very dedicated to what he does, to his family, to his work, to us now.
Yeah. So Andres, what did you do? What did you do before the war?
I'm self-employed. I'm a software developer. Also the founder of a library for Christian books, one of the biggest one probably. Yeah, so I was just developing software.
Wow. So how do you view what you do now? How do you describe what you do now?
Trying like looking for the spots where to help, and we're just trying to do what we're best at.
Yes.
Like, someone is best in finding things, someone is good as a driver, someone is nice about negotiation, about like finding humanitarian help or getting best vans or transporting vans in here, or like whatever. Someone is great at cooking for us, which is also a big blessing. That someone's taking care of that. That's huge. Yeah.
Hey, so your English is good. So where did you master your English?
I don't know. It so happened that we've been using English since teenaging. And also been working a couple years in Bank of New York. And basically, I just must have for your work, special for IT developer.
Yes. That's really incredible. So if you think about what you guys are like, what I want to know is like, Laura, let's come back to you for a second, because it's interesting. You have all these people that have gathered, like Sasha and Andreas and others. How do you decide who's going to do what? Because so much of what you're going to do is not safe. And how do you rationalize that? I mean, talk to me about defining duties and who's going to do what in this effort that you have to help others.
Honestly, again, I think it's the Lord and his direction. Everything happened so fast and was so unexpected. And I feel like all of us are kind of in roles that weren't roles that we're usually good at, or roles that we like think that we should be doing. Sasha's talking about being a photographer, and here he is like coordinating and strategizing. The fact that I'm talking to you is nothing I would ever even think to do in my normal life. Before the war started, the New York Times had approached me, and I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you, and several other like media outlets. And so I had no intention of doing things on social media or talking to people about my life or what's going on. But all of us just kind of saying, we're going to do whatever we can. And if this is what I can do, then that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like everyone's kind of in that same boat here.
Well, Andres, you'll know this as a software developer, and Laura, you clearly understand this because you're a good communicator. One of the things that we learned after Hurricane Katrina here in coastal Mississippi is that, and we were recognized for that effort to cover the storm with a Pulitzer, is that it's important to tell the story from as many angles as you possibly can. You're just another angle. People want to humanize. They want to understand the human condition. They want to understand what you're going through, what Andres is going through, what Sasha is going through, what the families that you deal with are going through, because in that ability to connect. Certainly, they can pray for you. That is for sure. But they can figure out how they can help, how they can do what needs to be done. You know, we too often in news coverage, the coverage is about the war, the latest move as it relates to the war, what's happening on the political front, what's happening on the negotiation front, you know, all of that. And there's certainly a lot of efforts to try to tell the story that's happening on the ground. But because of technology, you're in a very unique position to be able to say what's happening in your corner of the world. We've chosen to stay. We brought these people together, and we're going to help. And here's what we're doing. And your ability to tell that story is going to be important, and the more people who hear your story, the better. Why don't we do this? We're going to come back for the final segment of Coast Vue after this break, but this is an independent missionary, Laura Jackson, in Ukraine, and her friend Andres, and we'll see them when we get on the other side. See you after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I have Laura Jackson with us from Ukraine. She is an independent missionary from the United States, but she's been in Ukraine since 2005. And her friend Andres, who is a software developer. And I get the sense that you probably had some success in your life, Andres, because you mentioned that you'd had communication with New York, and you've have a successful website of some sort. But you had it sounds to me like you had a pretty viable business prior to the war.
Yeah, it was. I like it because I had enough freedom to have more time with family, and at the same time, I was able to get the money for living. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about your family.
I'm married for almost 13 years. I have a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah, and tell me about your kids.
They are awesome, cute guys. I miss them, by the way. This is the hardest part here. Like, I really miss them. I really want to talk to them, but at the same time, I don't want them, I don't want it make harder for them to miss me, you know, with what I mean. Sam is my older son. He's 6, and Sonia, she's 3 and something.
Yes. I have grandkids that age, and I know how important their relationship is with their father. And where are they now?
They are in Croatia.
They're in Croatia. Yeah. Where in Croatia?
It's just some small village. We had some friends who offered us to use apartment to stay there.
Well, Andreas, it's amazing you said Croatia, because my wife's family is from Croatia, and we visited there not long ago. And we actually went to Split, and we used that sort of a base station, and traveled to Dubrovnik, and then went north, and really took in the entire country, and what an amazing, wonderful country that is. So they're in a good place with amazing people who, my sense is, and I haven't been to Ukraine, but the people of Croatia, because of their past with Yugoslavia, et cetera, they understand what you're going through, and the people there are deeply, deeply connected to their country, and and probably exactly the same way you're connected to your country. So, I believe your wife and kids are in good hands in Ukraine. In Croatia for the time being. Biloxi, this place where I am, is full of Croatians. Lots of Croatians came here, like second and third generation families here of all. I mean, you would recognize many of the names, and so there's quite a connection there. But what would you, before we say goodbye to you, Andres, what would you like to say to the people of America?
People in America would see situation in Ukraine, like Ukraine is somewhere so far away, like some problems here are not really related to their usual life. But I'm really thankful for everyone who is involved into helping us, who is not staying apart, who is trying and searching for opportunities to help. And this is just amazing.
Yeah.
This shows who is really who are your friends.
Yeah. You are us in so many ways, and believe me, people are beginning to see that in ways they never had seen this before. This war is changing perceptions around the world in ways that will never change from now on. And we're praying for you, my friend. And I look forward to touching base with you. At least when we're touching base, meaning we will talk again in the near future. I'm honored to have met you. Stay safe, my friend. Hope that you and your family reunite soon. And so thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Laurie, why don't we come back to you? What I want to know, Laurie, specifically, because what you describe is a scenario where friends and family are sort of hodgepodge people are just giving you some financial assistance that's helping you do what you do. You don't have a nonprofit set up. You don't have a GoFundMe page set up. You're literally just collecting money from friends and family to be able to go buy stuff to help families and to provide supplies for people. If someone wanted to give, how can they give?
Well, we just haven't made time to research or figure out how to do anything else. There's too much going on here. So friends and family have been donating through my PayPal account that I've just had for years. And so it was what was there.
Would you mind telling us how we would do that if we wanted to do that?
So my email address is Loritchka, LORITCHKA @gmail.com.
Okay. So Cal, you got that? I'm assuming yes. We'll get that, and we'll make sure that connection is made to this video when it gets posted, and with the post on social media as well. And we'll try to do everything we can to bring attention to that address. So, Laura, you are an inspiration. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you guys, the last thing you have to do is sit down and talk to me on this show. But believe me, it makes a difference. It's going to touch people. And it's Sasha's story and Andrea's story and so many other stories like theirs are going to, I think, compel others to really want to figure out what they can do. Oftentimes, as Andrea said, it's happening off in this distant place. But when we can put a face and a voice and a family and a missionary and a team of people who are trying to do what they can do to make a difference. I call you the 1,000 points of light. You're just trying to find where you can contribute and make a difference and fill gaps. We're filled with those kind of people here in coastal Mississippi. And I thank you for honoring me with the opportunity to meet you and talk to you and to stay in touch with you. God bless you, my friend, and we'll talk again really soon.
Thank you for your time. And like Andre said, thank you for not being indifferent to what's going on.
Yeah.
We are not going to be indifferent. That is for sure. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.